The Indianapolis Colts and Andrew Luck. That is the only time I can think of where a team successfully tanked in order to get a quarterback or a player that influenced their franchise in a positive fashion for years to come. Other than that, it's been complete crap, at least in my lifetime. As a Jets fan, I've been through more tank seasons than I could care to remember. However, the most recent two for suck for Sam, suck for Zach, whatever you want to call that, clearly didn't work out. They're still losing. So why do teams tank? Or do teams tank? But why do teams tank? All right. Obviously, we know on paper, in theory, the worst teams get better players in the draft. It's supposed to be cyclical, and then those teams get better on you. But clearly that doesn't work. And on top of that, on the flip side, the good teams will show you that they don't need to tank either to stay relevant, to stay durable. So why is tanking so bad? Well, obviously, losing sucks for everybody. And if you want to lose, then you are a loser. You don't belong around the NFL. You don't belong around high-level sports, period. I think that it's encouraged by a lot of these owners who just look at the paper and they don't really know how to read the game or read these athletes, read their team. And it's complete crap. So obviously, when you're doing this, whether you say it or not, you're promoting a losing culture. You're promoting a losing brand. And actually, it's kind of pathetic. A lot of these teams are doing that. You're doing a disservice to your roster. You're doing a disservice to your coaches. You're doing a disservice to your fans that spend hundreds and thousands of dollars to support your franchise that you don't even know their name. Selfish bastards. Tanking is horrible. And no matter what you do, because tanking is losing. So when you want to lose, you're going to be a loser, and you're going to want your players to be losers. I don't know why anyone else would say it otherwise. I would never want my team to tank. I want to see competition, and that's what you're taking away from these athletes and these coaches. In the Jets, look at the Jets and Browns. I think at one point the Browns were like 1-30, horrible, and then the Jets haven't had a winning season in 10 years, and they've had multiple tank projects. None of them work. There's a very unfortunate and discouraging losing mentality within those locker rooms. I don't believe in curses, but it's very hard to break. It's so funny because with tanking, it's like, if you're that bad, if you're the worst team in the league, one player is not going to change your franchise, plain and simple. That's why tanking is stupid. It should be irrelevant. I don't know why people continue to do it. I can't stand when people are, we want to and trade up, whatever the case. But one player is not going to change your franchise if you are the worst team in the league. Tanking is fool's gold. Now, like I said, there's a lot of, and another thing, it doesn't help these coaches for tanking that maybe coaching or administrators or GMs that might have part of a bad team. It doesn't help them like people think. Yeah, they might survive the season, but I tell you what, they get that player that the owner wanted, that everybody wanted, and they're still not winning or still not competing. They're going to get a short leash next season. They're going to get canned, plain and simple. So it doesn't promote a longer lifespan. And first of all, to be an NFL coach is to get fired anyway, but it does not promote a longer lifespan within your position there. And you're ultimately setting yourself up for failure. Now let's talk about teams that prove my point. Let's talk about the Patriots, the dynasty they had in the early 2000s, how they're still winning. Even the year I remember, it was 2008, Tom Brady got hurt. The Patriots were still 11-5. They had a winning program there with a winning mentality. They weren't getting crushed by up above. They were promoted to compete, encouraged to compete. When their top players went down, next man up, we're winning. You don't see that with tank teams. You see that 50-50 maybe energy. None of that grueling competition spirit, that grit. It's gone. And once it's gone, it doesn't come back. I know we're talking about the winning team, but that's the other thing is these players that were great, it's going to be really hard to get them back on board just because you got your stud quarterback out of the draft, some young pretty kid out of college. Now, back to what I was saying. Talked about the Patriots. The Pittsburgh Steelers, 21 straight winning seasons. You think they tanked it all? Hell no, they didn't tank it all. So what do these teams do that makes them so durable with these crappy draft picks? First of all, I'm sure they identify players a lot better than these losing franchises, clearly. But other than that, they have identity. Why is identity so important on a team? Because when you have identity, you know how to build on that identity. Whether it's the defense, the quarterback, the passing game, the running game, the secondary, your front seven, your front four in the defense, whatever the case, you know what your identity is, and then you could draft or buy in free agency around that identity to support it or to complement it, whatever the case. When you have an identity, you can always build off it. You can always go back to it. These losing franchises, no identity. They don't take the time to build an identity. They don't even take the time to recognize identity within their players. That's the problem. When players are good, they sit them. They don't want to see, or when players aren't good, they don't give them a chance because it drives me crazy. They should be letting those players, the number 2 and 3 on the bench, compete for the spot next season. They should get those live reps and see how they develop. These losing franchises have no idea. But when you have that identity, you could always go back to it. And that's what keeps them durable. That's what keeps them strong. They know what their identity is, and everyone is rowing in the same direction. If a team that has no identity, I think of it myself coming from the fight game. All right. Let's say the fighter's pretty good. He's got a solid wrestling background. He loses a couple in a row. Am I just going to recreate him? No. I'm like, oh, no, just stop wrestling. We got to figure something out completely. No, you don't recreate them. You go back to your identity. And how do you get to your identity, whether it's with the boxing, where are we feinting more? Are we waiting for the opponent to box to wrestle and take down underneath? Things like that. You don't take away your identity. You don't change your swing when you get to the major just because things get hard. I know we all think that tanking is a lot more common than it is, but I really don't believe it is. It's really difficult to tank with these teams. You're talking about world-class athletes trying to make a lot of money that's based on their stats, including the coaches, how well they're coaching, how well they're competing. It's going to be really hard to convince these players and these coaches and the staff to tank. I believe that tanking is encouraged in some areas, mostly by the owner of the team that has no idea what it's like to compete in athletics. I look at Woody Johnson. He clearly was never an athlete, that guy. He just bought his team with his parents' money. And I could see that's where the tank comes from. But I don't think it's as common as fans believe it is because of that. Because you're talking about world-class athletes, world-class competitors who've been doing nothing but competing their whole lives. And for them to throw it down, take falls, I just don't see it. I know they're spending time around athletes. I know that there's talk of tanks, but they're still going to play their hardest. They're still going to coach their hardest because they know that the ramifications outlast them and echo in eternity. But that's what I got. I would love to know your thoughts on tanking. Please follow me, like, subscribe, and share on Quinn on Cage for more athletic psychology insight, sports psychology insight. Later.